I'm very excited to speak to Elizabeth Lesser. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm just doing as well as we all are doing on our best days in this time. So I'm doing great.
You know, I'm so used to saying that. We were just saying, is that the best question to ask at a time like this? And though she answered it brilliantly, because this is a brilliant woman who has done brilliant work. And I know that firsthand, being an avid believer, supporter, having been there at the Omega Institute. Learned actually even how to write my book at the Omega Institute, have been walked around the Ram Dass area, interviewed a lot of the people that have actually spoken highly about the book we're going to talk about over the years, because I believe in what you have accomplished. I believe in this book that you have now, your latest. You're a very successful person. And I probably could talk for you for the whole 10 minutes, but Cassandra speaks, let Cassandra speak instead. When women are the storytellers, the human story changes. You know, why do I feel that, now that I think about it? Are you Cassandra?
I think any woman right now in these times who is brave enough to try to lead and live and work and love from a very authentic space is a Cassandra. Telling, maybe our listeners want to know this, remember the story of Cassandra.
Great. I was going to ask, please.
Yeah,
Please
I'll just tell it really
remind us.
quickly.
Apollo would not be happy. Oh, what am I saying?
Cassandra was a princess in the Greek mythology. She wasn't a real person, as most myths and origin stories. These aren't real people, they're archetypes as it goes. And Cassandra was a princess. All the men were after her, even the gods, even Zeus, even his son Apollo. And to woo her, Apollo offered her the gift of seeing into the future, of prophecy, of knowing what's going to happen, feeling what's going to happen, and saying it for the people. She wanted that gift. She didn't understand that it came with the qualification that she would then have sex with him right away. And she refused him after he gave her the gift, and he was furious. So he cursed her. He said, Cassandra, you'll know the truth and you'll tell it, but no one will believe you. And that was her fate. And she saw the Trojan War, and she saw all her family dying. She saw everything, and she warned people, but no one believed her. So I do think that over millennia, women have felt things in our bones about what the world needs, what relationships need, what the family needs, but we have been not taken as seriously as we should have. And so it's hard for us to speak our truth from our real interior. And so, yeah, am I a Cassandra? I would say I am, yes.
So do you think that, um, do you think that this fact for some has occurred, the Apollo type, macho man, the bigger man, the bully man, is because men thought they were physically stronger? Do you think that that had anything to play in this, or that they maybe were in essence, the breadwinner in most scenarios, and the woman was, not in such a good position? Do you think that over the time that was part of the reason why these stupid men, I'll say,
No, I wouldn't say that.
I'll call them stupid, because if they
Okay.
treated somebody that way, it's not a nice thing. Okay, but go ahead.
Okay.
More
Well,
generous to my own sex. I'm
you
not.
know, one of the things I faced when writing this book, because my other books are not about gender, and they're more about doing the inner work so that we walk the talk in the world. I really wanted to make sure in this book that it wasn't like women good, men bad. That's just not what the book is about. But to answer your question, when I have an entire chapter that I never included in the book totally answering your question, like how much is nurture, how much is nature, how much is hormones, how much is training, how much is gender even a thing, or is it a construct? And then I decided, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist, I'm not even a historian, but I don't care anymore how much of it's nature or nurture. First of all, I don't think we'll ever solve that riddle. Of course, male hormones, testosterone, and women's estrogen, they do have a lot of difference. They do flood our system and make us react differently. In fact, in the 1930s and 40s, scientists did these studies on people in the lab. What happens to humans under stress? What happens to their blood levels and their hormone levels under these stressful situations they put them in under the lab? And that's when we came up with the term fight or flight. But the thing was, they discovered a woman at UCLA, Shelley Taylor, in 2009, went back and looked at those studies. They were all done on men, because most studies were done on men until really recently. So when they brought women into the lab and replicated the exact stressful situations and measured their blood level, they didn't have a fight or flight response. They had something that Dr. Taylor ended up calling the tend and befriend response. Under stress, most of the women subjects in the study had the instinct to tend to the most vulnerable, or to try to create circles of belonging, to befriend, like stress happens, a woman calls her 7 best friends, talks about it, creates support. So this question, is it nature or nurture? I do believe if women, especially women in leadership, are brave enough to listen to their tend and befriend nature, we will create different ways of doing power. We'll do power differently. But the problem for so many of us is that in order to get our foot in the door, we've had to sort of take on the fight or flight behavior modes. So what I'm interested in is women and men making sort of it noble to tend and befriend.
Aha, that's a beautiful way to approach it. And I pray that that is the approach that we all learn to live with, because it's a much more civil and much more brotherly, sisterly mindset, as opposed to one being stronger than the other. That's a good thing. More women in the boardroom. I think the women should actually run the world, personally, and I think
Well, if you know,
much better off.
if I become president, I'll invite you to be my vice president, and we can
Really,
try to pull that off.
a lot of important women that just seem to have that sense within their body, I would say more so than men. And I've interviewed actually kind of the women who have spoke highly about your book, all of them. I've been doing this 22 years, and good news. And your kind of people that speak at your place are those kinds of people that are about equality and about moving us in somehow in a much more respectful manner. And that's a good way. Now, you broke your book. Let's get to your book. You broke it into 3 different parts. Could you give us some idea of what that is and why you did it that way?
Yeah, the first part of the book I call origin stories, and I take 5 or 6 of the stories that I feel still stick to the culture. The Adam and Eve story, Pandora, Cassandra, some literature and myths that you may not think are still guiding you as an individual or your family or your workplace. And I retell them and give them, what if women had also been telling those stories? Because you may think the Bible dropped from the sky or the Greek gods were real, but they actually were people telling stories, and the storytellers have all been men. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, but it left out the voice, the experience, as you say, the embodied knowing of women. And those would not, the Eve story, born second, first to sin, that still clings to the way we look at women and men. So that's the first part of the book. The second part of the book is called Power Stories, where I look at a lot of the ancient texts and modern books and the whole idea of what is power, how do you do it, and is there a different way to be a powerful person? And the third part of the book I call Brave New Endings, a toolbox for inner strength. And it takes so much of what I've learned at Omega Institute over the years, inner work, meditation, psychotherapy, all these different ways that we can actually step into our authentic story, women, men, but this book is particularly about women. So we can be part of the change, a responsible, non-blaming, but really empowered part of the change.
I'm gonna ask you an Omega question at this moment, if you don't mind. Okay, I interviewed your co-founder also many years ago. Stephen, right? Is that right?
Yes, yeah.
Long time ago. What's going on with you right now? Because this is going to go out, in the next day or two. Are you able to do classes there? Is the school still functioning during this time?
We are
You don't mind me asking?
struggling. We are struggling to survive. We are hanging on by our fingernails because we had to shut down. We haven't been open since last April. We are like any other educational nonprofit institute. We barely make money any year. We just get to the end. We pay our really large staff. When we're up and running, we have about 300 people on staff. We, have 25,000 people come through our doors. It's become a large business. And we lost every bit of our income stream. And yes, we're a nonprofit. Yes, we fundraised. It's never been our bulk of income. Our income has been a fee-for-service place, and we've always been really proud about that. And so we've had to furlough most of our staff. It's just been a terribly difficult time. We're hoping to open in 2021 in the spring, and we are hoping everybody feels brave enough and vaccinated enough to come back.
So I don't know if I missed something, and I apologize if I did. Do you have remote classes?
Oh, yes, we do. We have a lot of online workshops and dialogues going on now, and they have just really kept us creative, kept us moving forward.
And what kind of class? I hope this is very important, because but maybe you got to run to another interview.
No, I'm fine. I'm fine.
Yeah, because everyone listening, Omega Institute is very wise in the kinds of people that they associate themselves with, and the people that associate with the Institute. They're people that want life to be really a positive approach in many aspects. So you're at a time like this, when there's so much stress, and on all the levels that we're aware of, the kinds of classes that you have there can be very helpful for people at a time like this. So what are some of the kinds of classes that you're giving there? I know this is about your book, but
no, it doesn't matter.
Okay, yeah. So what kind of a class, some of the classes that you would be having now that I'm sure could be helpful?
Well, we are having them online, as you said, and they are everything from a in-depth 8-section class on how to deal with your child's anxiety during this time. So a wonderful mindfulness teacher who works with children in the schools, teaching parents how to help their kids during this time, to all sorts of meditation and self-help kind of work, dealing with grief, dealing with loss, dealing with hope, building up your immune system, all sorts of classes online. And then when we open, we really feel like called to and excited about becoming like a post-COVID university, like how do you rebuild a career? How do you get over the trauma that we've all experienced on different levels? How do we try to create a new culture in this country of unity? How do you talk to somebody from the quote other side? We feel like our curriculum over the next couple of years can be so important.
Okay, and I agree with you. And so you're so wise, such a wise place up there, Rhinebeck, New York, and easy to get to. A gorgeous campus, a lot of greenery around you, and green buildings that they are very wise to create as well. So this is a big honor to get to speak with you. I mean, Sally Fields and Eileen Fisher, these people, Anna Van Zandt, they can't go wrong knowing who they're talking in due respect of, who have all said how good, great, and wonderful the book is. It's called Cassandra Speaks: When Women Are Storytellers, the Human Story Changes. Actually, we did something too with you with our World Peace Day. So I do the concerts for the International Day of Peace, September 21st, and for almost 20 years. And Central Park, and I have Times Square. Now I have to do it virtually. And I've asked lots of people, what does peace mean to them? So I would like to ask you, what for you, Elizabeth Lesser, what does peace mean for you?
Peace does not mean the absence of conflict or strife. It means not adding my own conflict and strife to it. It means sitting in discomfort with openness and almost a prayer to learn from whatever's going on. So I guess peace to me is openness to all experience and not shutting down and not fight or flight. Maybe peace is tend and befriend.
Okay. She speaks this, she talks the talk. All right. Thank you very, she lives the talk. There's no doubt about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.